Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is just a little video that I thought I'd get out at the start of the season, just about some last minute tips and tricks and hints that have really helped me out over the years in Fantasy League, and hopefully they can help you out as well. If you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. Follow us throughout the season, see how we get on. Hopefully we can all have a great Fantasy League season. And let's get into it. So for me, tip number one is don't worry about chips. Now we're talking about your bench boost, your triple captaincy. In terms of bench boost, I think people get hung up on it too much and they can plan too far ahead, to try and get the team sorted out. Really, what you want to do is, just wildcard the week before you want to use your bench boost and set your team up for maybe a double game week. I think as well, like sometimes it can take off too much from the present in your present game week if you're focusing on the future for like bench boosts and stuff like that. And really, you want to just you can use your bench boost in a single game week as well. I think what I have learned is that if I look at my bench and all my bench players have fixtures where I think, yeah, I'd be okay with starting them this game week. I think that's the week you bench boost because I think if they've all got good fixtures and you wouldn't have a problem starting them, doesn't really matter whether it's a single game week or a double game week. I think my highest scoring bench game week last season was a single game week by an absolute mile. And it's hard to predict, but it's also something that if it's hard to predict, don't you know let it impact too much on your team in the game weeks before you're planning on using it. I think in terms of triple captaincy, we're all basically just going to triple captain Haaland in a double game week, aren't we? Like so, I think you just wait for Man City to have a decent double, and then you triple captain Haaland. People will say at the time, like, "Oh, is he going to start both? Is he going to get rotated?" Like, yeah, he is probably going to start both, isn't he? Let's face it. We don't need all that sort of uncertainty going into it. So I think that should hopefully help you out with the chips. Don't really worry about them too much. My next tip is be prepared for it to go wrong. So you'll be looking at your team now and you'll be thinking, this, like, I don't see any weaknesses in this team. This is the team that's going to win Fantasy League. And I don't even think I'm going to need to make any transfers throughout the season. I've absolutely nailed it. And that's not going to be the case. We're all going to have terrible game weeks. Going to be things that go wrong. And I think when that does happen, it's good to maybe have a plan in place. So it's like saying, oh, if one of my players, doesn't really matter who, doesn't start, who are my options that I could move on to? And then I think it kind of removes that panic as well. But we all have bad game weeks, so don't let it put too much pressure on you when you're thinking about you know your enjoyment to it really. Next tip is going to be have some highly owned players. So for me, you're looking at like your Haaland, your Sakas, your Rashfords. It's important to have highly owned players because if a large amount of people in Fantasy League have the same players as you, it means you're either going to succeed together or you're going to fail together. And if those players don't score very well, you're not losing any ground on it. I think at the start of the Fantasy League season, it's important just to kind of stay with it. Don't necessarily think about getting too far ahead of everyone else, which would be a great problem to have, if that's the case. It's more about not falling too far behind. Like, yeah, you're going to have some differentials in your team. That's important as well because you need to have your own like identity in your team and some like sort of risks that you want to take, but not having too many, players that are maybe new to the league or low owned or you're not sure about the minutes. I think, yeah, you maybe one or two is enough. I think the flip side of having like highly owned players in your team is that if, let's say, it doesn't go well for one of those players and they're transferred out by a lot of people, you do just need to manage that price point because there is a chance they might drop down in price, and then that might affect your sort of transfers moving forward. If they drop down in price and you lose team value, like team value isn't the be all and end all. But I think at the start of the season it is important to have that flexibility. So do be prepared if a highly owned player isn't doing as well to make a quick decision and get them out of your team. You don't need a strong bench. So for me, it kind of links in with the bench boost discussion we had earlier in the video. Like for me, you just need one strong player on your bench that you'd be willing to come in and take over one of the players that's maybe been dropped for that week, or maybe they've had a knock that you didn't know about till the deadline. I think for me, people spend too much time like thinking about the bench. Just have a couple of cheap options behind them. Let's face it, like your team aren't always going to score loads of points. You're going to be having players in your team that are scoring one or two, maybe even 0 points in a game week. So if you've got someone that's coming off your bench that's giving you 2 points every week, that's actually not the end of the world. like in reality, your team aren't going to score goals every week. They're not going to keep clean sheets every week. You're going to look at your defense now and say, "Oh, there's no way they don't keep clean sheets this week." It's like one of them ain't going to keep a clean sheet. Like that's part of the deal. We just don't know which one yet. So I think you don't really need to have a strong bench. I'd say even keep some funds in your bank just to have that extra flexibility. There's no point getting like an expensive third option. That third option on your bench should be like a 4 million or 4.5 million player, so you can save money elsewhere. The last tip we've got is just to enjoy it. I think for me, it can get a bit hectic in the season, and you can get bogged down if your team's not doing very well. Like part of the fun is to try and problem solve and work it out and think about what you're going to do beforehand and plan your moves, but also have that reaction for when things do go wrong. But it is just a game, and I know it's so easy to say because we all want to do really well, and it is. If you're watching videos like this, it probably is an important part of your week, and you look forward to it. But like try and stick with the enjoyment as much as you can, really. So yeah, they're my 5 tips. Hopefully, it's helped you out. Thanks again for all the support. If you are interested in seeing my final team draft, we've locked it in. The link for that video should be on the screen right about now, and I will see you in the next one.